Good morning. Well, here we are again with another YouTube video. And this time we're going to complete the values of our six trig functions from our unit circle. So you've already been instructed to take a look at your notes from 5.2 and complete your values for your six trig functions of all of your angle measures from quadrant 1. Make sure you fill that out. And also, take a look at the table that we completed yesterday in our notes in 5.3 for our quadrant angles. So get all of that filled out, or make sure all of that is filled out so that we can continue on with completing our trig circle. All right, so if you recall, reference angles, they allow us to find the values of angles that may or may not be on the trig circle, because every trig function has a value at every angle measure around your trig circle, okay? So we're going to use the concept of reference angles to complete this trig table. I'm going to only do things. I'm only going to complete one angle in each quadrant, and I'm only doing sine, cosine, and tangent. So it is up to you to use the information that I'm giving you and the information that you have to complete this table and to complete it accurately. It will be collected at the end of class. All right, so I know that the actual trig values are hidden. So this is sine, cosine, and tangent. The first thing we want to cover is the fact that our trig functions have specific sign values, S-I-G-N-S, depending on which quadrant you're in. So if you recall last year, you were given a phrase, all students take calculus, or any other phrase to help you remember in which quadrants your trig functions were positive. So we'll cover that first, so that we can make sure that our signs are going to be accurate depending on which quadrants we're in. So 120, 135, 150 are all in quadrant 2. All means that all of your trig functions are positive in quadrant 1. Students means that your sine function is positive in quadrant 1. So that means that, in quadrant 2. So that means that cosine and tangent are negative in quadrant 2. Remember, this is sine, cosine, tangent. All right, let's complete these sine values for our next two quadrants. And as you see, I had already did it, but let's do it again. All right, so 210, 225, 240 takes us into quadrant 3. So now we're at all students take. So that means that our tangent function is positive in quadrant 3, and sine and cosine are negative in quadrant 3. Now we're in quadrant 4. That's 300, 315, 330, and we're at the word calculus. So that means cosine is positive in quadrant 3, sine and tangent are negative in quadrant 3. Okay, so now we've taken care of our signs, S-I-G-N-S. So let's go back to quadrant 2 and let's see if we can get our values for sine, cosine, and tangent. And then you're responsible for getting the remaining 3. The remaining 3 trig functions and the remaining 2 angles in each quadrant. So here we are at quadrant 2, and we're looking at 120. So what you want to determine is, what is the reference angle to 120? So if I'm in the second quadrant, how do I find my reference angle? Great. You subtract 120, or you subtract that angle from 180. So in this case, 180 minus 120 gives us 60. So now that we know that 60 is our reference angle for 120, we're going to go to 60 and we're going to take the values for sine, cosine, and tangent from the 60 degrees, and we're going to put them in the 120. So sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. Cosine of 60 is 1/2. Tangent of 60 is radical 3. And then, as I stated, you're responsible for getting the rest of them. You have them, so just fill in that information. So now you want to do the same thing for 135 and 150. Let's go to 210. 210 is our first angle on our trig, circle, and quadrant. 3. How do I find my reference angle for 210, which is in quadrant 3? Great, you're right. You subtract 180 from 210. So when I subtract 180 from 210, that gives me 30. So then what I'm going to do is the values that I have in 30 for sine, cosine, and tangent, I'm now going to put them in 210. So sine of 30 was 1/2. Cosine of 30 was radical 3 over 2. And tangent of 30 was radical 3 over 3. Again, you are responsible for completing the remaining 3 trig values and also the remaining 2 angle measures in quadrant 3. Follow the same exact procedure that we did to find 210. Now we're in quadrant 4. Our 3 angles for quadrant 4, 300, 315, 330. I'm going to do 300. So what we want to do, we're in quadrant 4. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to do a different one. I'm going to do 315. Still in quadrant 4, I need my reference angle to 315. How do I find it? Great. You subtract 315 from 360, and that gives you 45. Perfect. So now what I want to do is I want to go back to my first quadrant, and I want to look at my values for sine, cosine, and tangent of 45 degrees, and I'm going to place those same values in quadrant 4 for 315 degrees for sine, cosine, and tangent. So, sine of 45 degrees was radical 2 over 2. Cosine of 45 degrees was also radical 2 over 2. And tangent of 45 degrees was 1. So again, you complete the remaining 3 trig functions and the remaining 2 angle measures. Complete your table. Turn it in when you are done. Good luck and have a great day.